Hello everyone. Now, before we get to this video, I want to shout out Blitz, whose creators have very generously decided to support my YouTube channel. I know what you're thinking. The league's been out 10 years. You've got your own solution, the websites you go to. Blitz is different, and let me show you why. I recently cast a game where Tarzan popped off on Lee Sin. So, clicking on Lee Sin in the client, you'll notice the Blitz app loads up Tarzan's rune page. Already, you're like, okay, this is nice, tell me more. Blitz app is the only app that can auto-import Tarzan's rune set straight into the client. Loading into the client, you'll notice, opening up the shop, you got Blitz's suggested jungle item set, but there's more than that. These are recent pro builds loaded of very notable players. You can jump in and play Lee Sin like Tarzan does, and I hope this quick run through shows you the Blitz app's doing a little bit differently, and it's seamless and awesomely integrated. You can download the Blitz app at blitz.gg. Links are in the description below. Second review of the night, we've got an LPL review. And a lot of people have been asking for LPL reviews for a long time, but I just haven't been able to get around to an LPL review. I think there's been a lot of great games in other regions that have slowed me down from running an LPL review. But today we're finally back there. We're finally back for Invictus Gaming versus FPX game number 3. So this is a series that went all 3 games. I made sure to kind of open up and look at some of the stylistic differences in terms of the LPL with LCK, because they're kind of very often grouped together. One thing I want you guys to notice is the Olaf. Now, Olaf is something that came from China, the warrior Olaf in particular I'm talking about, and it's been a really important pick for them there. And you just notice in general the shift in priorities when we oscillate between LPL Summer and LCK Summer in terms of most picked champions and things like that. Aatrox priority super high in China, very strong skirmishing champion in the early game, and then obviously the ult makes it very forgiving. The Renekton is super high priority, don't see that in other regions. The two biggest differences though that I want to talk about before we get into our LPL review is Olaf and Kai'Sa. So Olaf as a jungler has been tried in Korea a lot in summer to almost no success. And it's kind of become an ironic pick. And you look at the Games of Legends pages for Olaf, and you see overall 46% win rate, not outstanding, but okay. You notice that Warrior Enchant is the most common build path now. Cinderhawk used to be the way, and that's fallen away a lot. The presence on the champion's pretty high. It's seen in over 50% of games most of the time. But notice this. This is what I want to show you guys, is Olaf's win rate by region. China has played by far the most Olaf, 45 games. And for context, 170 games played in China, 140 games played in LCK, so there is more games played there. But 45 games of Olaf, 60% win rate, and it's almost 100% warrior Olaf. Like, this pick is god tier in the LPL, but you get to Korea, 24% win rate. That's a difference of 36% in terms of win rates between regions. That is insanely large win rate discrepancy. And you might think, what's that about? Do they just have better Olaf players? And there's probably some of that to it, but it's a symptom of a bigger thing. Let's jump to Kai'Sa, another champion that has been very popular in the LPL. 50% win rate champion, so pretty balanced all things considered. No mana immune on the build path yet, but that might be because world stats have skewed things. In China, and we should specify summer here to 51% win rate in summer. Notice this, mana immune in 46% of games, and that was a dominant build in China, whereas it wasn't seen in Korea. You look at Kai'Sa, 74 games. And 74 games out of a possible 170. So that's a huge pick rate for the Kai'Sa, 60% win rate as well. Now, it's not in the toilet in every region is the Kai'Sa, but look in the LCK. Kai'Sa, 33% win rate. China, 59%. 60% win rate compared to 33. And also, you know, other regions are picking it more. 24 is a pretty small pick rate for how many games that have been played. So what are we saying? We're saying a lot more Olaf, a lot more Kai'Sa. So why? Like, why are those champions preferred in this region, but not preferred in the LCK? And a lot of that is about game style. The LPL will always have a shorter average game time and higher bloodiness than the LCK. So we can roll on forward and confirm something like that. You look at our teams that are playing today, FunPlus Phoenix, IG, and especially IG, right? How does IG play their games? Their games average 29 minutes. There are 39.7 kills in 29 minutes. That means 1.25 to 1.3 champions are killed or deaths on their team. So it's both allied deaths and enemy deaths per minute. So there's always action happening. There's a lot of skirmishes in an IG game. And some of the teams are a little bit slower. Like, for example, 26.9 in 29 minutes is about 0.85, 0.9 for FunPlus Phoenix. But LCK teams, on average, are much lower in game style and game pace. Meanwhile, Chinese teams are a lot faster. They skirmish more. They fight for more things rather than just for big objectives. And Olaf, what do we always say about him? If you've got priority or gank threat in the mid lane or someone that can back up Olaf, he walks in, he throws his axes, and basically every enemy jungler has to get the hell out of the jungle because his skirmishing is so powerful. The build that was common in China before it started to catch on again in Korea. So we look back and we look before, I want to say, Rift Rivals time. So we'll see what's included here. So before Rift Rivals, I don't actually have the stats on screen here. In Korea, we saw a lot more 2-item Kai'Sa, which means Kai'Sa that is buying the Storm Razor and also buying into the Rage Blade. So buying 2-item spike build that's about getting Q and E evolved fast. Meanwhile, the Kai'Sa that was seen in the LPL was all... Oh, people like the Papa Kai'Sa? We'll leave it there. Thank you. I've been working out. The Kai'Sa that we saw all the way through in the LPL in comparison was a lot more of the Manamune Kai'Sa. And Manamune Kai'Sa was something that was really big in the offseason. It felt like it was going to be the new double tier, but didn't end up being the meta in Korea at all. And a lot of people asked why. Like, why was it not picked up? And speaking to Korean AD carries, they just felt like you lost too much buying the tier compared to, say, the Crochet Shard on the way to a Storm Razor. It means the E-Evolve comes in too late, and E-Evolve is seen as the team-fighting evolve. Therefore, why go Manamune Kai'Sa when you could instead go for the Storm Razor 2-Evolve Kai'Sa? But in China, when you get your Manamune and get a very fast Q evolve, you don't sit in your own lane and trim waves with it. You roam around the map with killer instinct and you fight because people there fight more. And these two champions, Olaf and Kai'Sa, are symptoms of the differences in ideology between the LPL and the LCK. The LCK is much more fight averse, only fight for important objectives. So in our region, it's never fit champions that fight a lot. So champions like, for example, like we were just mentioning, the Olaf, the Kai'Sa, but there's other champions that really don't work in the LCK very well either. Renekton, 45% win rate, better than you expected, but much more of a sometimes food in the LCK. Played a lot more in the LPL. Not a huge win rate in the LPL, but played almost every game as a blind top laner when you need to take one. Assassins are also not traditionally something, especially melee assassins with middling wave clear, never really caught on in the LCK because people are willing to not fight way more than the aggressive tendencies of the LPL. So those are just some of the regional differences. It's just a fact because it's our first LCK review of the season outside of Rift Rivals. Now this one's going to be Thrill a Minute, and it's obviously a little bit different for me to VOD review these games compared to kind of non-G2 series because they're a little bit different in terms of what people are trying to do at every moment. But let's take an approach at it. But maybe we should first kind of give you guys a bit of a preview as to where this series was before. Game number 1, 32-minute victory for FPX, who came in undefeated for this series. Big takeaways there. It was cool to see Doinby running the new Rise. He ran it in the Talia matchup, and I do wonder if people will be bold enough to play this matchup. I think part of that is they had such strong gank pressure, and Tian and Doinby are for sure the fulcrum of FPX. Like, they really rely on Doinby. I think it's been less in summer. They found a bit more from side lanes, but I think this team falls into place when the Rise, so when Doinby has a champion with gank assist and Tian comes mid and they can spread that lead. It reminds me a bit of Tarzan and Chovy when they were formed in spring season. Rookie also didn't have a great Talia game, but we're going to see another Talia game from him that definitely doesn't start off all that well. They went for the priority bot lane duo, LWX and Crisp going for Kate Lux, which again is a lane that doesn't work in Korea, mainly because nobody ganks as much and people just gank this lane that falls behind. Now, given all the gank threat of Chinese teams, you would think it was also a risky pick here, but I thought in general, FPX kind of put this together quite smartly, and it felt like this would be an extension of the hangover that Invictus Gaming have been on in summer. Like, they haven't had a wonderful summer by any means, but they're still getting retrained to running Rookie and Baolan at the same time. So they had priority top side. This is a matchup with situational priority, but early you'd give it. The Rek'Sai could have got things going, but great performance from Doinby. Great closeout. Playing Gingun on the weak side like they often like to do. Game number 2, though, was an Olaf game. And I must admit, one of the reasons I chose this series to review was because I wanted to show you guys some good Olaf. Because there's not a lot of good Olaf coming out of Korea, and there's a lot of good Olaf coming out of the LPL. Like, Ning completely high-rolled this game. Like, this was a wonderful performance from Ning. 24 minutes, as you notice, huge amount of kills between the two teams. This is a super bloody game, but Olaf has a great matchup into Sylas because Olaf just runs him over with axe throws, and for once, Sylas' regular abilities aren't as impactful. They played around lane positioning bot side and the kill pressure of Avaris for turret dive when the Kate Lux was rolled a second time. They just played a real bot lane focus here and didn't allow LWX and Crisp to lane. So just things really changed because Ning had a real plan and because he was able to unleash like a insane Olaf performance to super run over FPX in this game. So it all leads to this. Bit of context there. The picks that are played earlier in the series are going to be relevant. First pick, Tahm Kench, probably means Tahm Kench Varus is being threatened by IG. And FPX are going to actually make a change here. Like, they're going to actually change things up. They're going to at least hover. But I like holding on to Lux because I'm actually a big believer in kind of the Korean mentality regarding Lux Sivir. I think that's actually a really strong duo lane that gets the most. We're not in any way surprised to see the Varus, as we mentioned, Varus Tahm, for priority in most lanes. This one is a bit of an interesting one. Now, it's something that Rookie played on game 1 but didn't have a great game on. It's also a jungler you can try to play against Olaf and just try to play around where Olaf's pathing. There's still all-in potential on you because post 6, you can't even use the seismic shove defensively. But getting the Olaf here is their way to stop the inevitable run over of the bot lane. Like, if they feel like they're taking the strongest combat jungler and combining it with the same duo lane. Now, again, I would have preferred the Sivir, but FPX had already won on this. If they do get priority through mid lane and jungle, then Kate Lux just deletes turrets to almost no counterplay because of their ultra long range. But it is also potentially against a duo lane that IG could play through. You can still play through Varus against a Caitlyn Lux duo because there is kill pressure with Chains of Corruption. The answers into Caitlyn, like, they're usually things like Varus or Ashe, like longer auto attack range and all-in abilities, both the Chains of Corruption and the Ashe Arrow, can actually catch both Caitlyn napping and Lux napping, and that's why the Varus can definitely work in this lane, even if in a resting state it's pew 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 autos that, at the end of the day, going to be a bit harder for things for IG's duo to work. So it's one of those things with, it's a matchup with a lot of windows, and it's kind of one of the more interesting ones to watch because they're trying to do different things in the lane. FPX, again, telegraph, we're going to play weak side. You can take whatever you want, and we're going to have, again, you pause here, and life for Jackie Love and Baolan looks awful. They're against Caitlyn Lux. You probably couldn't blind pick a stronger duo lane. Maybe Vitality and some teams would disagree, like a Draven Lux lane, or just a strong Draven lane, but Caitlyn Lux for a normal pushing lane is ridiculously powerful in the 2v2. Olaf is almost impossible to contest in the jungle, and they're drafting weak side GP early, saying, we'll take whatever crappy matchup for Gimgoon, he lives on the weak side, but we can cannon barrage to win the bot duo harder. So this is FPX responding to what we were showing you guys from the scoreboard, what happened in the previous game, which was that just literally Ning on Olaf ran a train on bot side, and there was no way to salvage Caitlyn and Lux. This is doubling down in a really big way on playing bottom side. So if you're going to do it again, at least roll it back with backup is the way that FPX are approaching it. You know you're going to get some level of counterpick, and the Vladimir is a Deshai classic and a champion that gets to a point where you can just run over GP. But the Vladimir needs to be able to get out of lane and find timings, and the argument is that if Caitlyn, Lux, and Olaf just run down bot lane, get a turret, run top lane, get a turret, maybe Vlad will never be able to actually be team fight ready in a region that's known for being super bloody. So we get the Vladimir versus GP. It's a good matchup for Vladimir after about level 6. The first 5 levels, GP can actually win trades, but after that, it's pretty one-way traffic unless you take Ignite. And Doinby takes his most played champion in summer with the mid lane Nautilus, which is really interesting. It's a champion that obviously will not have priority on Taliyah, but it's a champion with insane gank assist. And now, Taliyah pre-Banshee Veil is on a really short leash in this lane. Caitlyn Lux with these tools means they can pressure bot side. FPX have a jungler who can find kills in mid or play around bot side in order to take turrets. Meanwhile, IG have a very strong winning lane as the game scales on, like a scaling winning matchup in top, but also a global of their own and some strong engage as a result. So Taliyah kind of has to go full roam style here, and it actually becomes a bit of a war of who can get bot lane for bigger plays around ult timings. Like if you can get GP to ult top lane, like, you know, like you threaten a dive, back away, and then Taliyah roams bot side, that's the sort of small win IG need, try to win bot. This is 2 drafts that are largely, until about 25 minutes, about sending everything bot lane and seeing what sticks. So pretty interesting setup here in terms of the draft. And that's what happens when you get a first round Taliyah and you get Nautilus mid lane. Like, it's not a mid lane carry, but it's a mid lane champion that's super easy to play through on the side of FPX. And I guess coming back to the draft, you do notice kind of regional differences, right? Azir and Corki are both unpicked and unbanned in this game. Neither of them are taken because first round Taliyah trying to deal with the Warrior Olaf, and it's very much a trickle down because Warrior Olaf forces out a very specific jungle pool in order to deal with it if you actually give respect to the enemy in being able to fight. The Taliyah is taken first round, potentially for jungle or as a fallback pick for mid lane, but it's a flex they're willing to take. It becomes bot lane focused to the nth degree with blind GP just to win harder in the Caitlyn Lux. The Nautilus gives kill pressure onto a mid laner that's known to push and roam. Like, you can't push and roam against Nautilus if you don't know where Nautilus is. Like, you actually need him under turret, but to get him under turret, you need control wards to allow yourself to push up. But can you get those against Taliyah, against Nautilus Olaf? Like, there's a lot of levels upon which the game has built towards drafts like this, but the end result is they're very high action and very bloody because that's the sort of League of Legends these squads default to. yes, FPX was 8-0 in match score, i.e. in best of threes coming into this series. FPX go on to lose this series. This is not about matches you guys haven't watched or results you haven't seen, but it's all about the why. So what do you do when you have the god tier bot side? You start off with vertical jungling. Olaf rolls in, but we should probably go a little bit earlier. When do we see the wards at the start? So FPX go for a big invade bot side. They put down wards. There's a responding vision from IG that's placed. I believe the ward was placed by Jackie Love. It could have been placed by Ning, but I believe it was by Jackie Love. And he knows that he has to start top side because you have to respect Nautilus, Olaf, Caitlyn, Lux bot side when it comes to what happens here. So it's on a ward, but they have a invasion ward on the top side, and they have the ability to take over the top side jungle. So the late invade that we see very rarely in the LCK is another reason that champions like Olaf can start to do things. We've seen a lot of super defensive starts in the LCK, and we're always talking about at least deep vision on, say, a Karthus that we're not seeing. With the passive jungle starts that have happened, it's become easier and easier for farming junglers in the LCK to profit, and harder for aggressive picks because they never really have the information in order to actually take things. Chad is asking, do you think it's correct by Olaf to counter jungle despite or less vertical jungling here? So what you guys need to understand is this context in which this game is played is that Ning just ass blasted bot lane by camping it like crazy when they played Caitlyn Lux, which is entirely played to keep flash, keep pushing, and take down turrets. So they got destroyed by IG playing bot side focus, and instead, this game, FPX are making the adjustments that are possible in best of threes by going for a late invade with a crazy strong level 1 draft, taking over the bottom side of the jungle, and from there, actually being able to keep the Tahm Kench lane in check. Tahm Kench lane's level 1, so it's very, very weak, and allow the Caitlyn Lux lane to succeed. So Olaf wants to control the bottom side because Gimgoon has taken one this game. He blind picked GP against the Shy with Vladimir up, with other picks up, took it early just to allow himself the chance to ult bot lane. So everything that FPX has done come game number 3 is to play around their bot lane. So yes, vertical jungling here is 100% correct because you're not trying to get 3 camps from Jarvan. You're trying to get Caitlyn and Lux ahead. So that's the reason that I feel very strongly about this, is they're playing entirely around a bot side focus in a game 3. And someone in chat made the good point. But the LPL didn't punish the Karthus at Rift Rivals, and that's by win by dying. And you're right, and it's something that I called out on cast. You know, we were trying to call it out, is Karthus was getting free full clears, and Ning and other junglers weren't invading him. And I think part of that was it was a best of 1 tournament, and at the end of the day, we didn't get to see many Chinese teams playing 2 games against Karthus, and you don't see a lot of Karthus for similar reasons that you don't see certain other picks in the LPL, because you can have a lot of vertical jungling, you can have a lot of aggression. So with all that considered, I also, like you, win by dying, was very surprised to not see Karthus accountable at all in Rift Rivals. But this one's not about the jungle matchup, much more about the bot side. All right, Tian doing the very common. These are sort of plays we didn't see from Svenskeren against Tom Sona in our first review that we are going to see coming through from Tian. It's 3 minutes 15. You assume Olaf is getting ready to take down the Scuttle, or he's ganking bot lane. Those are the 2 options that he's into. If he's not spotted, Talia has to be oh so worried about certain plays. Now, they're not going to get too much out of Balan. They only get a heal out of it. But these are the sort of plays that a Caitlyn Lux lane with Olaf jungle are about. This Olaf is about running over bot lane alongside his allies over any other objective here. So a lot of priority shown around there. He'll back away. Now Doinby rotates bot lane because Rookie's on a back timing. So this is all about trying to get LWX and Crisp ahead, and also to force Rookie to, every time he backs, back through bot lane, come through his red side jungle that he has no priority. Remember, Rookie doesn't really know anything about this jungle. It's a jungle that's been controlled by the enemy. So every time he comes through this jungle, he's at danger of being picked. Speaking of, yeah, Rookie's got nowhere to go. And a play like this flows on from the play that we saw before. Rookie has to go through bot side jungle in order to cover for bot lane if another turret dive happens. So he's predictably going to be pathing on the right side into mid lane. And that's exactly when they open up with a gank here. So if you're going to play Nautilus mid lane, you're screaming, my jungler's going to play through mid. And that's exactly what happens. And the kill threat on this duo is insane. Like, Nautilus misses everything to open. Oh, they got the emote spam in there. China's allowed to have emotes, just in case you guys don't know. And they get the kill there. And that's Rookie paying for the sins of the early game draft that does allow FPX to keep playing through bottom side. Taliyah wants to be making top side plays. Like, the way that you equalize this game is that Taliyah roams top with Jarvan and they kill the GP. If Taliyah has to go through bot lane into mid and then gets ganked, that's because Taliyah's being forced into the weak side and that IG haven't been able to create enough pressure on their top side. Difficult to do early for Vladimir against GP. You don't necessarily want to be ganking for an early Vlad. So it just comes back to the draft. FPX set everything up to get a bot side lead and actually transferred it already into a plate, but more importantly, a mid lane kill. So far the game is going how FPX set it up, is what you guys should be needing to take away here. I just love watching LPL Olaf games because the Olaf is never drafted to farm a bit and then get outscaled. Like, the Olaf is always doing something. And it's a pleasure to watch this sort of Olaf play because the champion with Warrior Enchant, we already mentioned 60% win rate in China, 25% win rate in Korea. That's not because Olaf is good or bad. It's because Olaf has a certain effectiveness ranking at early game ganking, i.e. super high, super early, and LPL teams are able to get advantages out of it. Pretty big mistake from Crisp here in how he approached the lane. Falls super low. He's trying to bait in this duo because his jungler is soloing down the Mountain Drake. Let's watch how this all starts. So Nautilus walked down to cover for the Mountain Drake. And then Taliyah just leaves when the minion wave is pushed out to make a play like this. Now, in the LCK, of course, this Olaf is way further out, but this is the LPL, and people are always thinking about fighting. That's why we actually get some aggression from it. It ends up being 1-for-1, but LWX is so safe that they're going to get turret plates. This is Rookie, after dying, trying to get out of lane. Like, the reason why a play like this happens is, if you are Ignite Taliyah and you used your flash and died, you're against a Nautilus, right? Like, you can't lane against this duo. So roaming is actually better than laning for Rookie because he can't really safe lane. Now, he does end up trading a 1-for-1. It's not a 1-for-0, but it's actually, like, Taliyah only really functions in this game getting other people ahead because staying in her own lane doesn't really work. So while the play could have been more clean, and it does have the flow-on effect of losing like 2 turret plates from the action, like, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to FPX around the bot side. And if GP's going to ult and all this play happens and only a single kill comes down, it's actually pretty fine. Here we go. Mid lane focus. You look at the lane state. Control ward bot side. The Nautilus is held for a while. Lux was on a recall. Where is the safe spot for no flash Taliyah to stand? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you can't flame Rookie for deaths like this. It's again falling into the game state, but this is what Nautilus mid lane does. Another pick that Korean teams tried and failed with. Like, you could stand under the turret and not get experience, I guess, or Ning could spend all of his time mid lane, but realistically, you just die. Like, Rookie has died 3 times in 8 minutes. But the second death was actually super worth because he drew out Cannon Barrage, went 1 for 1, and got a kill onto his Varus that allowed Bilgewater. The first death was because of enemy pressure. The third death was also because of the bot side draft. So it's just intriguing to see stuff and gameplay that we never see in Korea because everyone in Korea thinks differently. They're always so much more risk averse. Like, Caitlyn Lux, mid lane Nautilus, and Olaf all don't work in Korea. Lux as a champion is super strong, but we're Lux Sivir. Caitlyn doesn't work because she gets ganked too much. Nautilus mid doesn't work because people don't walk up. And Olaf with Warrior gets outscaled every time. So it's so different. And the only thing that IG have, which it was their primary win condition in draft, is the Vladimir outscale. So it is important that Vladimir's been able to grow a 20 CS lead, but Vlad doesn't actually turn that into solo kill pressure till probably next shop, or maybe level 9 and just the right all in. Oh! Alright. Vlad being on an island is really good for IG. You are right in that. Like, for sure you're right in that. But the idea is, the reason why I favor FPX's comp over IG's, if they're going to have a plan like this, is that you're right in that Vlad has a bit of an awkward kind of 6 levels against GP, then outscales and can slam him in the 1v1 and can potentially be big in team fights. So it's very easy to say, but IG's winning up top lane. But the issue there is that the game style, if FPX can take down this outer bot lane turret, remember it's at 2 plates remaining, 9 minutes into the game. If the game becomes then Berserker Greaves, Pickaxe, BF Sword, Caitlyn just going to side lanes, taking down turrets, and the general pace of the game staying super high, Vlad only really gets out of order with significantly more gold in his tool set than just last hitting every minion correctly. So because FPX can strike and get kind of a huge team gold lead that only Vladimir might be competitive in by about 20 minutes, I still favor the FPX style of play. But you're right in that in a vacuum, IG is getting a lot of farm on Vlad, and that's better than, obviously, Vlad being held back. But it's not, to me, a reliable win condition if FPX plays correctly. And they're not an average team. Like, this is the #1 previously undefeated in series team in China. So giving that sort of a win condition that had a lot of tools like the GP ult and the bot lane focus, like, it's hard to not like what they're doing. This is nicely done by IG. They have to use so much to make the play. It's Flash Chains of Corruption, Flash from Jarvan as well. They get the kill, but remember that so much of the options for FPX are to play through bot side. Damage not there yet for the Shy, as you can see. Taliyah continues to roam. So Taliyah doesn't have Weaver's Wall throughout this play, makes the threat topside, and this is the bread and butter of FPX. Doinby being able to get out of lane first with CC. You see what happens. Taliyah pushes in. That's the same push in that she went and used the Weaver's Wall bot side. Weaver's Wall is not available. Not sure if FPX had that exact calculation, but the lane ward behind Varus Tom, even without Caitlyn there, because Olaf has no deep wards on him, beautiful. Instant TP, instant correct ult. You're definitely killing Tom. You want to kill the Varus. Couldn't have pulled the trigger better. That's what Doinb provides. Like, those are the sort of Doinb-esque moves, whether he's playing mid lane Nautilus or Ryze or his famous Kled, that get advantages. Caitlyn's actually going to just relieve pressure in mid. If Caitlyn had kept going bot lane, they would definitely got the turret. They're going to get it anyway. So they got a 10-minute turret here. And you look around and you're like, bot lane turret destroyed. Doinb getting some kills in on it. Caitlyn already mid with 5 plates to take with 10 minutes. So 3.5 minutes left until the plates go down. No Berserker Greaves, but already flat AD and the dagger. Like, this works out incredibly well for FPX until now, because Doinb overstays. Like, after they get the kill, the one more wave here actually costs Doinb. Tiana's already on the way out, and Doinb dies. Now, it's only a single death. Why he flashes, no one will ever know. That was just really bad. But there was no reason for Doinb to stay bot lane. Like, he must have really needed 3 CS for, like, a control ward or something. But in the commotion, WX able to get 2 turret plates in mid. WX has gotten a lot of the turret plates so far. That's 5 turret plates that LWX has been involved in. But this game is still FPX favored, in my opinion. But you start to get pretty scared about this Vladimir, right? If the Vladimir is stuck in his own lane and you continue to get more advantages, 3,000 gold lead becomes relevant. If the game goes on and the gold lead doesn't grow, 3,000 gold lead against the Vladimir, a lot less relevant, as we know. Allows him to get an objective top side. It's a little bit surprising that Doinb resets by going straight down bot lane, because Doinb could have run at Rift Herald, and FPX, as it stands right now, would have been able to win a team fight pretty easily against even this Vladimir. At level 9, he's not strong enough to AoE down people. Doinb actually goes straight down bot lane with no TP, and it gives up Rift Herald. So that's like a small macro thing that I think FPX could have continued on. That being said, Mountain Drake for their team comp is obviously ultra insane. So there is still a pretty decent trade there, given that Doinb gets to full push a wave, and they get the Mountain Drake as well. Wow, this was well played. Look at this. For them to actually kill Rookie through stopwatch, that was clean. Good job, Crisp. In case you guys don't know, Crisp's old name was Pinus, P-I-N-U-S. There was no other way to pronounce it. He had to change his name. Not sure why. But he's good at the skill shot supports, that's for sure. He's cool to watch. He's not quite Lumao, but he's good. It feels like the game is going to be won and lost here. First, really happy to review an Olaf series where Olaf did everything he wanted to do. Like, Tiana's huge. Warrior Black Cleaver is going to be done before Infernal Drake starts. Like, he's huge. And his agenda of getting bot ahead, smashing success. Yet, because it's Olaf, Caitlyn, Lux, and Nautilus who falls away huge in terms of damage, like, they will get outscaled one way or the other, right? The Vladimir outscales this entire game, it feels like. So because of that, in fact that he outscales 1v1 and 5 and like 5v5, you got to be careful as FBX continue to always have that same agenda to push and grab more. So they can't fall back into any passive tendencies at the moment. Caitlyn could have gone top lane. There's a good point made in chat. Why didn't Caitlyn go top? I think Caitlyn, because teleport was down on Doinb, wanted to be around the safer turret, which was the mid lane. I think there was a way that Olaf could have played topside to open it up, but it would have given up Mountain Drake. So it's possible that the lure of the Mountain Drake is the reason that Caitlyn didn't go top and stayed kind of mid lane for extra safety. IG making plays like this is so important. Like, watch the picks they did. They did this on LWX last time. Chains of Corruption into Flash E coming through from Rookie. So Rookie, who we remember, just couldn't really enter lane against all the damage and gank threat of Olaf Nautilus, is making himself relevant and is actually way more strong in terms of game contribution than a 1-4-2 Talia ever could have been considered. You know? Like, this is very much Rookie trying to make plays outside of lane because his lane was basically lost super early. And every time Caitlyn or Lux has to reset and Vision starts to get put down incrementally by IG, recreating a map state where Olaf walks around with his axe, you're scared of him, and Caitlyn pew-pews turrets gets harder. And also means that more gold is injected into the game. We're now at a 51,000 gold game, 25k on the IG side, 27k on the FPX side. As there's more gold in the game, 2-3 item phase comes around where Caitlyn struggles and Vladimir and Varus start to take off. So important notes there that those kills are not just kill no objective that we might criticize in a different review, but given the fact that FPX are playing a tempo draft, and you've heard me call Olaf a tempo jungler, Caitlyn Lux the epitome of a tempo lane and wants to take turret plates and not fight, every time LWX is chunked out or dies, the tempo slows, the tempo chills out. It becomes a low tempo game, which I know people love to talk about low tempo and high tempo, and Mike Young. And IG can just potentially siege down turrets on their own, right? Weavers were all used here. Mid lane outer goes down. Any plays like this where IG are getting free structure gold that FPX is not getting because of LWX's 2 back timings, 1 gray screen, 1 chunk out, is so huge for IG to buy time. Another stylistic difference you'll see, though, is that from behind, IG have been trying to make plays around the map. Chat talking about the fact that GP also wasted his ult about a minute and a half ago on one of those plays. That's true. We talked about it in draft. Getting a GP ult, getting a Nautilus teleport, getting Olaf's time. Like, there's a lot of tools to waste that if used perfectly by FPX, just get them everything on the map, such as their power. But IG disrupting that rhythm gets them into points where the team fights that looked impossible before are looking way more possible here. Like, FPX are in a stall still, and now it's actually going to be a 50-50 dragon after the last 2 were just not contestable. Where did the Shy start this play? Shy coming from base, starts this play, has teleport up. They're probably expecting a TP gank. It's a good spot by Doinby. Doinby as the veteran is trying to spot for the Shy on the bot side. Oh. It's a beautiful entry, but FPX play this so well. So FPX have had control around this area for a long time. Let's watch how it all happens. The Shy is being stopped by Doinby. So Doinby knows exactly his role here. Doinby, it wants to ult someone, and his best role is to peel away the Shy. Like, that's what you want to do here. Like, Doinby, if he can just throw out his ultimate and then use the rest of his cooldowns to stop Vladimir from getting in, the person who got all the farm early, is doing his job. And that increasingly becomes impossible as we get to late game. But at this point in the game, you can actually stall out the Vladimir as Nautilus because you do relevant damage and you're relevantly tanky this early. Baolan flashes in, trying to make the engage. But Doinby does walk over, if you notice, and just spends all of his time interrupting the Shy as FPX are in position. So that means Jackie Love fighting alone, Vladimir not zoning anyone, and Rookie fighting alone. So even though the Shy is like epically good at threading out maximum damage, it's maximum damage from level 12 Vladimir. Because FPX approached the fight so smart, this is actually finally a way where you can't just ruin the team. So we'll watch it one more time. Just look at how much goaltending is done. He's stunned, and then he's rooted and ignited. So he's wasted all this time, and that means that everyone else's health bar that requires the Vladimir to be in there with an AoE Hemoplague and AoE Tides of Blood, all of their health bars are wasted because Doinby and Crisp knew their job, which was to stop the Vladimir. So that was really well done, even though you were baited into thinking that when he hit the 4-5-man Hemoplague, it was going to be a big moment. That was really well done. Now, it's 18 minutes, so if that was at 20 minutes, double Mountain and let's say Infernal to FPX, they run straight at Baron. So they're actually a little bit undone by how early that fight is. But this is the sort of fight that gets FPX a Baron and closes the game because it doesn't get them the Baron and they had already lost the Infernal. It feels good. Like, it's good to get that investment of gold, but the extra gold on Olaf doesn't really make him noticeably stronger. Caitlyn still doesn't have a kill, so that mid-game trough is in full effect. She has no items, basically, apart from the Infinity Edge. And Nautilus doesn't really do any more damage after about the first item. Like, there's no way for Nautilus to build up damage items and do relevant damage in team fights, so he's already starting to focus more on utility. So the gold that was gotten by FPX can't really be spent on winning the game now, and they have a draft that needs to win the game around the siege imminently. So it's kind of it's really good feel, right? Doinby's like, yes, we did it. It's a really good setup around that Drake, and yet it's unlikely to change the game state from FPX, where they're nebulously doing okay, but it doesn't help them win more. Nice pickup here. So we're seeing this more and more in Korea. I haven't been watching the inventories from NA as closely, but you will notice Mikhail's Crucible, first item from Lux. We're seeing most Enchanter supports rush Crucible in order to kind of give a Tom Kench-esque effect, like a free Devour to somebody. Over and above Redemption or Athenes or all the other items that were very common. Now Caitlyn can walk up Siege and not be undone by just the Chains of Corruption like happened the last few times. Talia's still only a Seismic Shove bot or an ult bot. Like, no items on Rookie because he fell so far behind. But he's so far been able to salvage a horror laning phase and a horror game state for Talia, who looked most likely to be left out, and get something going, which is kind of all you can really ask for. So FPX actually start the Baron here, which is super risky. So FPX have no deep vision. They have strong Baron turn with Cannon Barrage and Nautilus. And they want people to come through one entrance. But they don't for sure know which entrance the enemy team is coming on. And watch how low they get the Baron. So FPX make a really poor Baron call. So let's talk about the draft. This draft with 2 Mountain Drakes is the epitome of a early Baron comp. Like, they have Caitlyn Lux, who got first turret or were involved in first turret. They were able to get the mid lane outer turret. Notice they never got to rotate top side and take top lane outer turret. So already they don't have the minions helping them out by pushing down and giving them the ability to easily push in and contest. So they don't have any deep vision around, say, the Gromp spawn that you would usually see. There's no Wolves ward. There was one shallow ward that was already control warded nice and early. So they don't know anything about the configuration of how IG are approaching. Now, if IG walked in a line this way, yes, Nautilus ults the back target and they're all knocked up. You finish the Baron. That's not realistically going to happen, especially when you don't know for certain that it's on the way. So they're playing this Baron like this turret is dead and that they have the right vision to know how IG are approaching and thus hit their point and click CC and take down the Baron intelligently. Instead, because they don't have that, without that vision, it's a good, smart approach here. The Wombo engages from one side and the carries from the other side. Plus, the Shine now does have double flat pen, proto belt, and the Spellbinder. Like, the Shy does have team fight items on a group team. So you need to get off this Baron early. The only way you get off this Baron is if you turn on at like 20 8 minutes, you know, 30 minutes. Like, at this point, 22 minutes in, like, with how squishy they are, like, you look at the magic resist, you're like, Merc Treads, Hex Drinker, no Magic Mantle Merc Treads, no Magic Mantle, some magic resist there. Like, this team has not got health and magic resist, right? They're, like, on the squishier ebb. You got to turn off the Baron, like, for, like, 6, 7, 8,000 health. The moment you get it below 5,000, you can't fully disengage, because if you kite upwards, I just take the Baron. So, at the end of the day, like, FPX are in a good spot in this game. Like, we can click away and see the entire gold, right? Like, they're 3,000 gold ahead in the game. They have the ability to just take down this outer top lane tower and put down deep vision. There's other things they can do. And even if FPX want to fight, they can only take certain types of fights. The fights where it's about who the Nautilus ults, like when he teleported bot lane, absolutely you can take those fights as FPX. But fights like this, where you're going to come in and Vladimir can contest one side, the Weaver's Wall can cramp your style, and the Baron's already fallen to 4,000. Like, look at how much free damage the Shy gets in on the backline before, and how little threat there is on Jackie Love, because they only had one Nautilus ult to threaten one person, and Jackie Love never walked up until after FPX had already started. So it almost felt like FPX were doing a Baron that suited a game where they had gotten more of an early game lead, and they just get wrecked by the Shy and Rookie. Look at the flash seismic shove, too, from Rookie. The seismic shove there to... LWX is going to die to Baron, right? Basically. What a good play. Like, Rookie has flashed aggressively every single one of his flashes outside of when he died mid lane. Like, for him to, like, find this much relevance on Talia in a game where he looked useless 3 deaths at 8 minutes is sick. And yes, the Vladimir damage is of a high ordnance. But now the problems come plentiful for FPX, because now Vladimir has hit his items and has Baron. So GP can no longer enter lane against him without being chased down, or gives up a minion wave and has to back away. The Nautilus damage right now is actually pretty low, so it's not really much ways for him to impact the map unless they outnumber. And if IG show up somewhere first, FPX can't go to them, because FPX's engage is only Nautilus ult or Lux Binding or Olaf ulting. So even though FPX have a 5-1 and 4 Olaf, the reason why Olaf feels useless is that he's really ahead at doing his thing of being somewhere first and you can't go near him. But if if his team falls behind and he has to run in and contest, he's not tanky enough going a full AD build in order to threaten anyone's positioning. And if he goes a tankier build, he doesn't do any damage. So Olaf going this build can't make mistakes like the Baron buff the FPX took. Otherwise, he just won't have a role in future team fights, and he ends up being pretty useless. IG can easily play 2 lanes. Yeah, they're showing respect. They don't want to play 3 lanes because Talia doesn't really have that much ability. It takes a time to get between lanes. And they want to be able to just always be within Weaver's Wall global range in order to turret dive with the Shy. Because turret diving a team like FPX is actually very viable. The Shy is so aggressive. I love LCK, but I love LPL too. So the all-in onto Rookie without stasis. The Shy hits a huge ult, right? Like, Crisp is dead instantly. Multiple stasis are used. But the Shy flashes in when actually he probably wanted to play around his backline more. Like, they're so aggressive here to try to win the game straight up on this push, when I think they have the outscale. If you're FPX in a reverse scenario, I think flashing in trying to get more kills is fine because you're scared of where the game is going. But there was no reason for them to flash into the base. JackeyLove flashed into the Nautilus to die as well, which is... But to a great degree, the damage here is already done, because it's very hard for FPX to recreate the map state that existed before when everything they did bottom side suited them. How did that happen? Wow. Well, Rookie didn't have flash. He didn't have a choice there. He had to fight, but it's like a bonus kill in the end. Tian can't afford to do that when so much of the gold is on the Olaf as well. You're giving huge experience and potentially shutdowns to the enemy Talia. But yeah, just coming back to my point, because the Vlad is this big, you can make mistakes like that as IG that FPX can't afford to make. So even though that's really sloppy, like if they had clearer comms, they would have played around JackeyLove and just killed Nautilus on the back end. Like the Shy is now really big. 55 CS up, 3 big completed items, soon to be 4. IG know that if they just get the next Baron, the game ends, right? So they can just play topside jungle, poke around. Doinby's now really only an ult, then useless. Like, you can't do anything as AP Nautilus against a Vladimir comp late in the game. Oh, no. Oh, you hate to see it. He's sorted the ass. Oh, he missed the... He missed the hook there, which actually matters a lot when it's AP Nautilus. And that's why they just don't have any damage and real threat on the backline. Oh, the fail flash too. Let's watch this all slowly and work out why it all happens. Because this game gets into a weird spot. Basically, Doinby wants to catch IG rotating between top and bot before Baron spawns. That makes sense. All he can do is catch, so you understand the entrance. JackeyLove last to respawn, Baolan walking up, try to being safe. Now, LWX gets into a weird spot as well because he's clearing out a minion wave and comes down. So because Vladimir's bot side, both the AD carries are like, okay, I guess we could walk in this way and be fine. But it means that no one has a front line because we're fighting an enemy jungle. First consequential thing, Doinby aims here, aims too far on the left, and hits there. So he loses out on Q, which with AP is quite a lot of damage. It has, I think, 0.9 AP ratio. So that means no damage onto Baolan. He has to ult Baolan after that. So now Doinby really did nothing with his ult and Q, and they're both on cooldown to begin the fight. Meanwhile, with how the fight is starting, before LWX even walks down, the backline just gets completely occupied by Ning. Like, Ning is a monster here. Like, look at this. There's actually nowhere for them to go. They can't even get onto the blast plan. So they're basically 5 seconds stunned in the backline when LWX is walking down. Like, LWX wants to be walking down like this and fighting behind a front line, but he ends up poking at the side because he's the only person that has access to Doinby and forgetting that Vladimir is about to get to the fight. Because now LWX walks in thinking he's going to get free autos before the Shy has used anything, right? Like, the fail flash there is kind of sad as well from LWX. There's nothing they can do on this one. And IG get to turn it into multiple skirmishes. Like, this actually, if you think about it, is Ning going in 1v3, then disengaging. So that's like Ning doing everything correctly on the top side. It's basically ambition against SKT in the Worlds final. And then it turns into the Vladimir being able to re-engage after a lot of tools are down and get into the back line. Rookie gets a front line, but his front line is the walls because he's just able to continue to skirmish here. So because FPX came in at such weird angles, because we're fighting in such weird terrain, it allowed first Ning to just dominate the enemy team, then Vladimir to dominate the enemy team, and even Rookie to slide in and pick up a kill. So it was just IG understanding the terrain they were fighting around a lot cleaner, and FPX thinking that because it was their jungle, they would be able to come away with a an advantage when they were actually caught multiple times, first by Ning, then by the Shy. So we're not exactly sure why Olaf just runs and dies here, but that does happen. He had ult, but it's against Jarvan, so... Okay. Where did the Shy start this play? So after the pick started, the Shy was already TPing. This is a really good look. The Shy's TPs before hadn't always been great. The moment he saw Olaf face checking, he knew that either they were going to kill Olaf or they were going to be able to get the flank off. That's beautifully done by the Shy. This is a really good teleport. Because either Olaf died instantly or the Shy's definitely killing Olaf +1. You'll notice he even holds on to the Hemo Plague towards the end. Hits the EQ. I think LWX probably dies there, but obviously it's best to guarantee it as Ning. That was really well done on that one. So when did the Hemo Plague come up? We can actually watch it on the top left. Yeah, he was actually forced to hold the Hemo Plague. It wasn't even his decision. But that was a really good flank teleport, where they read that Olaf was going to try to contest the brush with Ragnarok, and the Shy was either going to kill him or kill everyone, and ends up being everyone there. That was really well done by the Shy. Like, some of the other kills here fell into his laps, but that was really nicely done from him. The Shy hasn't been in like unbelievable form for a while, but like his best games are still so outstanding. And it's good to see that with rookie Baolan and the Shy's having games like this again. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Tiana's not able to jungle as Olaf from behind anywhere near how he was doing from ahead. Like, I think they're playing it really, really weird. The Shy's flank, like we saw, was awesome. And now it's Baron, so there's almost no way for FPX to stop this game from just being a IG victory. IG just playing two lanes, mid and bot lane. Great weave as well. They can just wait this one out. They have the cannon minion. Oh, I got distracted. Unlucky. Seismic Shove is already doing 50% of a Nautilus's health bar. AP Nautilus falls off super hard, so does FPX's comp. Watch this play in slow motion. The Shy walks up as if he's going to auto attack. He auto attacks the turret. One auto attack, and then, yep, I'm doing it. Protobelt, Flash R. He knew he'd register it with at least Lux and Caitlyn. Beautiful. Knows that play is going to zone them away from the inhibitor. Easy peasy. So FPX are trying to fight them and not allow them to reset, because otherwise they know they'll lose the game anyway. But the Shy sees the hook miss and he's like, wait. Like, watch the Shy on this. Q. Regular Q.
The pull timing. The pull timing. Oh. It looks, if you slow it down enough, that he doesn't even get it, but he's that good at it that he gets it. Oh. Ridiculous. All right. All right. Now, let's listen to Papa here. Now, I probably won't be at All-Star. I wasn't at All-Star last year, and I probably won't be at All-Star this year. Don't we need to see Nogari's Vlad versus the Shy's Vlad? I love the fact that both LPL fans, 100%, it has to be the Shy. LCK fans, they've been staring at Nogari's Vlad. I got to get the Vlad versus Vlad. Let's do it, man. Like, they're both so good at Vlad. I know Vlad versus Vlad is so weird because no one takes any real damage. Like, I wish there was some sort of training dummy mode, kind of like Scion Speedway, where you could actually compare Vladimir versus Vladimir in like a team fight setting. But, man, that was an impressive win. And what I want people to take away from this series is how IG is different to Korean teams and how the LCK and LPL are very, very different. Because you hear that all the time, but actually visualizing it with a bit of context, I think, is helpful. What I will say that's unique about this game is that FPX was way better with Warrior Olaf than we get from LCK Olaf teams. So they got a lot, and they were able to get the turret they needed, etc., etc. What was unique about IG is that when they were getting run over, especially in the mid lane where Rookie had died 3 times in the first 8 minutes, to go from 0-3 Talia without flash against Nautilus Olaf and then hit multiple flash seismic shards, roam multiple times, understand that if he goes bot lane and dies, but his AD carry gets a 1-for-1, it's still overall a trade up for him because he doesn't actually want to be farming in mid lane. He can't. He's going to die. Like, I'm very impressed with how IG look at a chaotic game and still try to get leads elsewhere. It's very reminiscent of G2 when they're playing well. So it's very impressive. I think Rookie's role in this game is underrated. Like, we saw some great skill threading from the Shy in the late game, but they required one mistake. Like, FPX's Baron here was a pretty big screw-up, where they just didn't have enough priority to make the actual Baron take and maybe were baited in because they did too much damage with a double mountain. But it's still very impressive how IG is able to hang in there with creativity and hard picks. And that's just not something we see with really any team. Damwon Gaming on a good day, but most of the Korean teams kind of hang back and take it, hoping for the enemy to make a mistake. Instead, IG hung in there and fought with inferior tools, and then also were gift wrapped the mistake that we do see pretty frequently. So just a little bit of a subtle difference there, but I think IG keeping the heat up, even though they were so far behind, especially in mid, was the reason that they were able to actually have a mistake fall into their laps. Because if they hadn't, if they had just farmed it out, the Baron take would have been safer, the top lane outer turret would have been down, and the game would have ended around that. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with this review, and also highlight some pretty sick mechanics on full display. Heavily expect these two teams will both be either making it to Worlds or in the final of the Worlds gauntlet for sure. IG, RNG, FPX, all really strong at the moment. So thank you for watching my LPL VOD review. Bit of a treat. I know I don't get around to them as much, usually focusing on the LCK, but let's see if the LCK makes it out of the timeout room for next week. Maybe we'll just do more LPL. Who knows? But that was FPX versus IG game number 3. Going to take a short break and then be back with some questions. And our final review of the night is going to be G2 Esports versus Splice. So join me with some LEC action after the break.